It is indeed a great privilege bestowed on me to extend a pleasant, productive, and progressive good morning to one and all who have gathered here online through the interactive media platform using modern electronic appliances and be enthusiastic participants in the one-day webinar on better writing through reading. First of all, on behalf of the KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu Management, Principal Dr. Magila, Chief Executive Dr. M. Nadarajan, I feel grateful and lucky in welcoming the resource person, Captain V. Justin Ruben, Assistant Professor Senior Grade, Associate NCC Officer, Department of Humanities, Coimbatore Institute of Technology, Coimbatore, to this August online gathering. I welcome Dr. Justin Ruben. I am delighted in welcoming all the participants who are gathered here online from various parts of the globe. I sincerely welcome you all to take part in our quest to disseminate information and empower the academic as well as the student community all across the globe beyond any boundaries. Also, I wish to place on record my sincere and genuine thanks to our KPR Institute of Engineering Technology, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu Management, beloved Principal Dr. Magila, Chief Executive Dr. M. Nadarajan, for having permitted our mathematics department to proceed with all essential support to conduct this one-day webinar on better writing through reading. This topic is a common topic of interest to enhance professional writing abilities of all faculties, irrespective of their disciplines. For Dr. Justin Ruben is presently working as Assistant Professor Senior Grade and Associate NCC Officer at Coimbatore Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. He has more than 20 years of experience in this field. For the coming next 60 minutes or so, Dr. Justin Ruben will be elaborating on the topic, making an earnest attempt to reach out to satiate and quench the intellectual needs of the participants. Now I hand over the session to Dr. E. Justin Ruben and requesting him to start his lecture. Sir, proceed, sir.
So thank you very much for your welcome and introduction. This is indeed a privilege for me to be part of the KPR group's initiative, in which they are reaching out to not just the academic community, but the student community as well, all across the globe. And I've been told that this particular webinar has a lot of registrations, willing participants to join and come along with us in our quest to understand certain things about reading. The title is a wonderful title selected by Dr. Ramasamy, and he has been in constant touch with me because his desire is to reach out to the student community and help them out in whatever way possible. So in this quest, he has managed to convince me to talk about the importance of reading skills and how reading as a pleasure as well as a focused activity can help students as well as members of faculty build their skills, exclusively writing skills. See, English is a language which basically works on, based on the process of imitation. If you listen more to English, you can speak better English. If you read a lot of English books, you can definitely write well. That's the basic idea here. With that idea in mind, I'll start with the presentation. I'll share two photographs with you. Then we'll move on to the presentation. Just for a brief introduction, I just wanted to share these photographs. These are the things you can see on your screen now. You can see there are numbers given there: 935, 936, 937, 938, 939, 940. And then you can see something in capital letters. That is, I've written the name of a book that I've read and then the author, and I've given a very brief commentary about the particular book I've read. This is a habit that I've been following right from my PG days in college. Almost like 20 years now, I've been doing this. I learned it from a professor who said, if you start reading a lot, the variety, you should mention that definitely. So I started it off as a very simple thing, but now it has grown to this level where, as of today, My reading list has come down to 941, 942, and 943. In fact, my 944th book is over. I'm waiting for the 945th book to be started by me. Okay? Because these are the times where you'll get time for yourself to read. In the times of pandemic, most of the regular activities are curtailed. So I think we have enough time to focus on reading. With that aim, we'll move on to the presentation. Hope you are able to get this on screen. See, this is a picture which was taken outside last year, the same month. This was July 2019. This picture is actually taken outside Kodisha Center, where the Coimbatore Book Festival was held. The Coimbatore Book Festival 2019 was held from July 20th, 2019 till July 31st, 2019. And I took my sons, all my three sons there, got them whatever books they wanted to read, and I got loads of books for myself. Okay, and then we came out and took this picture. This is the picture I wanted to share with you before the starting of the presentation. And moving on to the presentation, remember the topic is enhancing writing through reading. That's the focus here, and more focus will be on the reading part, because personally, I feel what I feel is a lot of today's digital generation kids, they don't have the inclination or interest towards reading. They think reading is a kind of, introvert activity, wherein if you start reading, people will label you something, you are not having social skills and all that. I'm going to break all the misconceptions and then tell you how reading will help you in writing. So moving on with the presentation. Okay. This is a summary of what we are going to see. Okay, an overview. Let me start with a quote by Stephen King. I hope many of you know about Stephen King. He is a professor of English literature at the University of Maine, and he's also a very famous horror writer. He, as well as his wife Tabitha King, both of them are writer, and he specializes in writing horror stories, and most of them have been made into very successful movies as well as TV series. So his words, I'm quoting his words for you. If you don't have time to read, then you don't have the time or tools to write. Just look at the connection. He says, if you say you don't have time to read, then you don't have the tools, the techniques and the time also to write. You cannot write effectively and efficiently. That's what he is saying here. And we are going to look at what will be coming next. Let's see. The next point I would like to highlight is, always remember, you are what you read. Like, your character is determined by what you read. Many people say, you are known by your friends. The same thing applies on a different level. For example, the way to look at your intellectual profile is, what are the things you read determines what sort of a person you are. Okay, and then the next point to be focused on is reading improves reasoning. So that's a very interesting thing, because whenever you apply for MBA, especially CAT exams, and then maybe clearing it, and then after that, what happens there at IIMs? Once you reach there, you are given a lot of lessons to read. They offer you so many assignments, projects based on reading only, because the higher you go up in professional setup, wherever you're working, for example, even civil services, the more you'll have to read. They'll be presenting a lot of materials, a lot of files, a lot of reports, everything will be given to you. And your work there involves a lot of reading. And while you're reading, you process the information, you analyze it, you come to a conclusion. Okay, that improves your reasoning skill. Right from the level of a student, when you start reading, it improves your reasoning skills. I would even go on to say this. Remember, in all the competitive exams of a very high level, for example, civil services, or for example, this IIM, CAT and other things, the question paper is set, especially the language part is set in a way that 70% of the questions involve reading, and what is called as reading comprehension. Okay, that is how the question papers are set, because at that level, you're not going to take up a spanner, or you're not going to go into the field and work. You're going to sit in an air-conditioned office You'll be reading through the reports, you'll be analyzing them, interpreting them, and then giving your feedback on the report, or maybe you can suggest corrective action on that. Next thing is, reading shows you the way to write. It exposes you the different styles of writing, thereby pushing you to write and try this. Okay, try writing ins. Okay, so let's focus on the next thing here. I'm giving you a summary of the benefits of reading books. So many things are mentioned here. The first thing, for me is it exercises your brain. Many times we do physical exercises, but are we doing any sort of intellectual exercise? And for that, you'll have to exercise your brain. The best exercise for your brain is reading. And then so many other things are given. Provides knowledge and information. And books are a good topic of conversation. Maybe you are in a group of strangers or professionals, and you want to start a conversation. When, say, for example, you can start off with the weather. That's normally the thing people do. But then you want to make a point, make that you are somebody. You want to make an impression on people. Start off with books. That gives people a very, very positive impression about you. The first impression about yourself. Okay. And goes on like this: improves concentration and focus, it develops your creativity and increases your ability to empathize with others. That's something very important for a person who aspires to be a leader. A leader is somebody who has exemplary empathy towards others. That's achieved by reading, because reading takes you inside the plot and makes you one with the characters, and you start feeling their own sacrifices, their own sorrows, joys, everything. That's how it works. Okay, provided you have the interest first. And remember, books are a window to the world. Sitting here at your home, you can read something about that is happening in, say, the US of A, or even a remote place like Australia. You can know about their culture, even food habits. So many things can be understood by reading books about these things. Okay, and why this focus on books, I'll tell you when we come to that, because we are living in a digital age where most of the reading is done on digital devices. Why my insistence on reading books, I'll tell you about it a few slides later. Take a look at this. Books pose questions to simulate further reflection. It pushes you further to think about, okay, what are the things that can be done? Why these things are done? How these things are done? How all these questions are answered. Enriches the language and vocabulary, something very important. If you are interested in learning and mastering a language, this part is very important. The vocabulary is very, very important for anybody, be it a mature professional or an aspiring young budding learner. This part, vocabulary part, is very important, and that is achieved mostly through reading. Reading reduces stress and puts you in a better mood. Yes, if you're stressed up, a very good book can put you at ease. It just assuages all your feelings and puts you at ease. And a good book is like a garden carried in a pocket. It gives fragrance, It gives you confidence that you can never get from any other source. Okay, that is how these things work. And to sum up the greatest benefit, I would say, it's always better to put your nose in a book than putting it in somebody else's business. Okay, that's how it works. Many times people involve themselves in things unwanted. When you're reading, that never happens. You are focusing on something to be done, and your focus stays there itself. And you also keep exercising your brain. Okay, moving on to the next one. I have a quote here. Why people, many people are hesitant to read, because when you read, what happens is many people believe that it doesn't mean I don't have a life. Reading, it's not like something that takes you away from the society. That actually gives you a better perspective of the society. Reading doesn't mean I'm a nerd. People think, oh, this guy is like, oh, he's not good enough for all these physical activities. He's a nerd, bookworm, all that. Like, bookworm is mostly not a compliment today. It's only a criticism. People say that fellow is a bookworm, which means you're not fit for any physical activity. They'll not call you while they're going out for riding in their vehicles, the bikes, or even playing cricket. They'll not call you. They'll say that fellow is a bookworm. He's not good for it. That's not the way how it works. See, I only love the feeling that even when you're back in reality, you still feel like you are in a different world. It takes you to a different world, and that world, improves your creativity. Your creativity gets a boost when you are reading a book that appeals to you. All right. Now, moving on, a little bit of focus on the mechanics of this reading. What is reading? Reading is actually a key method of assessing information and understanding concepts in every academic field and in the world at large. It's a way of reading printed material and assessing and acquiring that, assessing that, and interpreting that. You also understand these concepts. That's the last part of reading. Okay, it's a step-by-step process. Okay, you go through it, then assess it, you interpret it, then you understand it. Okay, and remember, in this digital era, we have become accustomed to easy access to information. However, the metacognitive work of active reading is still necessary. It's something very necessary for effective writing. It's like I have a slide here which succinctly puts it, very pointedly says, this is how you read, this is what happens. Okay. Digital era was what has happened is after the millennium, the kids who were born in the millennium, they were exposed to these digital objects, like a TV or a telephone, in fact, a cell phone. These things were given to them right from their childhood. So the general belief, according to sociologists, is this generation of students, they don't have the inclination towards reading books, okay, hard copy or soft copy, whatever it is. But even then, see, remember, even when you are scrolling through your phone, apart from the images that you see, there are a lot of text there which you read, not fully at least, but you just skip through. That is again reading for you. On a different level, reading is again happening. Many times we don't focus on that part. Moving on. Okay. Now, what happens to people who read widely? People who read widely usually have a greater command of vocabulary and the mastery over the distinctive nuances of written expression. Remember, there was this greatest English writer called Shakespeare. He contributed almost 15,000 expressions to this language, English language, when language was growing. Okay, I actually have a slide here which will show you how many expressions that we people owe to Shakespeare, how many expressions that we use today in colloquial language that we owe to Shakespeare. That comes later at the end, towards the end you will get it. I'm just telling you, when you read, your vocabulary is strong. The vocabulary part is something very, very important. Okay, when your vocabulary is strong, vocabulary is nothing but the words, the list of words that are in a language. That's the general meaning for vocabulary. And personal vocabulary is the number of words you know in that particular language that you are learning and training in. Okay. The next point of focus is many readers also absorb correct grammar and punctuation subconsciously, whether or not they know the rules behind when to use a comma. What happens is, as you read, there is a process called, this is a psychological study. Psychology says that a sort of embedding process happens in your brain, especially in your subconscious. All the different structures you are exposed to goes and registers itself in your brain. All these structures are registered there. Thereby, in future, sometimes you may be able to even pinpoint grammar mistakes without even knowing the rules of grammar. You'll be able to say, somewhere this is wrong, we need to rewrite it this way, or the comma doesn't come here, it comes over there. This comes from your subconscious because the lines you read sometime back, are embedded there in your subconscious, and then when time needs, it comes out and plays a role there. Always remember that. Okay, this is how I'm briefly giving it. Better writers tend to be better readers, no questions about it. And better readers tend to be better writers. It works both ways. Okay. You can see, if you visit any writer's house, they'll have hundreds, even thousands of books in their library. At their home, they'll have it on display, and not just for display, they'll be reading it, they'll be consulting with their books. And so better readers, they become better writers. That's how this particular skill works. Okay. I'll be playing this video for you because I want to emphasize that there is a connection here and there are people who are involved in establishing this connection, understanding this connection between reading and how it works on your brain. Okay. This is a clip from a show, TV show. So it will not be like, very formal. Two guys will be talking informally, and a lot of interesting information is presented here. Please have a look at this video.
Fellow bookworms, Trace here for D News. And Dr. North popping over with my show In the Making. You know that feeling when you read a book and you feel like you're a protagonist? Well, new research shows you might be altering your brain connectivity to living the life you're reading about. Scientists have been able to measure the short-term effects of reading on neuronal activity in various parts of the brain using an fMRI. The brain is full of neurons transmitting signals to each other. In order to support this neuronal activity, the body needs to supply more blood to these areas of the brain. Blood delivers oxygen, so on its way to the neuron, blood is oxygen-rich, and it returns oxygen poor. The change in oxygen causes a change in the magnetism of the blood. So using fMRI, or functional magnetic resonance imaging, scientists can detect this change in magnetism, oxygen level, corresponding neuronal activity. In other words, we can see where the brain activity is occurring. Thanks, Dr. North. Smart. Using this technique, researchers at Emory University did a study where the subjects read the novel Pompeii in a little over a week. The book is a page-turning thriller by Robert Harris based on the real-life eruption of Mount Vesuvius in ancient Italy. At least that's what the researchers have read it. So they said they also picked it because it has a strong narrative arc and a clear lead character. After establishing a baseline for 5 days, for the next 9 days, the subject would read 30 pages of book each evening. The following morning, after taking a quiz to make sure they did their homework, researchers performed an fMRI to measure activity in specific portions of the brain. They found a continuous increase in arousal with some of the most exciting chapters, the highest being the actual eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Wow! Spoiler alert, Mike. Just kidding. It's fun. Anyway, the results also showed heightened connectivity in the left temporal cortex, which is correlated with heightened receptivity for language, which they call shadow activity. It's sort of like the muscle memory of the mind, which is cool because even though they weren't reading the book at the time of the fMRI, there was leftover effect from the previous night of reading. And even cooler, they saw increased activity in the sensory motor regions, whereas the author of the paper puts it, that reading a novel can transport you into the body of the protagonist. More specifically, they saw long-term changes in the bilateral somatosensory cortex, suggesting a potential mechanism for embodied somatics. In other words, thinking about jumping can cause the same neural activity as actually jumping. It's almost like their brains were living the actions of the lead character. But Mike, does this mean that if I read about someone doing something like shooting arrows or doing kung fu, then would I be better prepared to do it in real life just by reading? Possible. So in the movie The Matrix, when Neo goes into that simulated training system, he was really just stimulating his mind, I guess. His mind could have been preparing his body as well. That's pretty cool. What do you guys think of this new research? Are you going to read more books after this? Tell us down below in the comments. And
Okay. Now, this particular video focuses very clearly on something. See, it just doesn't talk about reading, it talks about reading fiction. When you read fiction, how does it work on your mind? You could have seen the images, they've pinpointed, okay, these are the spots where you find activity, neural activity. It's like enhanced when you read, okay? And they also said, the last part, where they show this karate training, that's because it's that kind of physical stimulation, The same thing happens in your brain when you're reading fiction. The focus is mainly fiction. I'll also be focusing more on that, okay? And then for giving more legitimacy to this idea, I hope you people are very clear about this MLA, Masters Language Association of America, which is a very important body and which has given us a lot of interesting books. Especially the model they have given is used for research in science, humanities, and sociology. Okay, these are the areas wherein they play a very important role. They have published an article in their own website, and this is the article. I'll just show you a glimpse of it. I'm not going to go through it completely. You can just take a look at it here. Style.mla.org. Reading strategies and writing. It connects, this article is like improving student writing through reading strategies. That's how the article is titled, and it talks about how it is done, why deep reading is valuable, both for students as well as teachers. How reading and writing intersect, the process, how it intersects, and using reading strategies in the writing center. What you've read, those strategies can be taken and used when you're writing. Then modeling literary expectations. These are the subtopics here. When you have time, go through it. All right. Okay, this gives a very clear picture. This is how even advanced societies for research, they consider reading as a very, very important tool for writing. Moving on. Okay. Just a minute to look at the quote by Isaac Asimov. As you know, he's one of the greatest science fiction writers of the 19th century. He says this: writing to me is simply thinking through my fingers. It's a very, very wide statement, which you'll have to understand it in a clear way. It's thinking through your fingers. Whatever it is, using a pen or even typing it, thinking, it's actually the supreme, the process that man can do. As a civilized human being, the greatest asset that we have is thinking. And that is what happens when you read and then write. Moving on. Okay, a little bit of focus on how to work out your reading skills. See, for any type of reading, first thing you need is interest. Okay. After interest, many people complain that there is no time for them to read. That is something I will never accept, because you have 24 hours in a day and you say you don't have time for reading. That actually shows what a poor time manager you are. It actually, puts a shade on your character, a negative shade, saying that you are a clumsy person who doesn't know time management. Today, the modern gadgets, especially the brand of cell phones called Samsung, they come out with an option called digital well-being. And I don't know how many of you are aware of this. When you open up the settings and see, there is an option called digital well-being. And when you click on it, the Samsung model phones clearly tell you how, let's say, for example, your phone is switched on from morning 6 o'clock till, around night 11 o'clock. They'll take those particular hours into concern, and they'll say, okay, your phone from morning 6 o'clock till midnight, 11, 12, even 12, okay. All these 12 hours, how long it was turned on, and how long you were staring at the screen of your phone, and what are the apps that you were looking into. All those things will be given clearly. And then there will be a summary of the time you spent. In fact, preparing for this, the day before yesterday, on Thursday, I was looking into a lot of online resources because right now, I'm not working from my institution. So I'm at my home where I have a limited supply of books only. So I was referring to online resources. And around night 11:30, I checked out this option, digital well-being, and it showed me I had spent 4 hours 47 minutes looking at my cell phone screen. I was like shocked. My God! Like you leave out the 24-hour cycle, just assume 12 hours working day. Out of that, I have spent 4 hours looking at my phone. Of course, it had a different purpose. But then when I went into it deeply and saw, I had spent so much of time on Facebook, on WhatsApp, all these things were given. More than an hour. Okay, this actually shocked me. What I'm trying to say here is, you have an option where You can use these digital gadgets to your benefit and then get or reap the fruits of it in a very positive way. Okay. And then the next point here. Remember, if you're making this list, is more diverse, you will expose yourself to a wider range of vocabularies and styles of presentation, which in a place like India, it's something very, very important. In India, your language skills, it gives you social status. See, many people laugh at me when I say this. There is a, line by this actress called Kovai Sarla in some movie. It's only a comic, funny scene in which she addresses somebody like this. Dora English elam pesudhu. Then I had to sit and analyze it. See, let's analyze it and see. Dora English elam pesudhu, which means English la pesna Dora. Dora, is a law. So when you use this language, you become a lord. You are a person who gets social status in a society like India, because we, were colonized and we were learning the language of the colonizer for a long time, and that still has its effects. When you speak this language, the language of the colonizer, the oppressor, in a proficient way, people will look at you as a lord. They will give you more respect. Many people will realize it, especially professionals. They will realize it because when they struggle with the language, they are looked down upon by their bosses. They'll say, "Oh no, this person lacks in skills." There is this term called English knowledge, which is actually a wrong combination. English is not knowledge. English is actually a skill, which anybody and everybody can master, provided you have enough exposure as well as experience. That's what matters when you're learning it. Okay, and the focus here mainly is on reading, so I'll just focus on to that part alone. And remember, when this natural inclination to mimic and integrate the type of writing you have read falls in place, you keep on reading, one day it will work out for you. You'll find a work for it, like a need for it, where you'll have to employ the reading that you've read, all those things, the different words you've read, different structures, different styles of writing. You will ensure you're not writing the same thing over and over again. For example, for students, I would say, you're writing your projects, your assignments, everything, even your tests, you can present it in a way to impress your examiners. And for professionals, what happens is when you are applying for projects, even writing a leave letter, this will be very, very handy. People will take a look at it. They'll be impressed by your language, by your style, by your vocabulary. I'll give you examples when I share those things with you. Okay, more on reading. Your writing will feel richer, flourished with a combination of amalgamated styles and linguistic choices. It will be very rich. People notice, they start noticing your writing. They'll come to you, they'll have a discussion with you. In fact, this is what is happening between me and your own professor. Okay, Dr. Ramasamy always takes time out to come and consult with me whenever it comes to writing. And writing is something very, very important, because writing actually leaves behind the historical tangible proof. When you put something on writing, it's there forever. Sometimes when you speak, unless you record it, the speaking part is like you speak words that just flow out in the air and they disappear. But in writing, there is a record of it for generations to come. Okay, so you should be extra prudent when you are writing. All right, you will efficiently create a blend of everything that you've read, and you will be a better writer for it. Not just better, you will be efficient, you will be effective. People start noticing you just because of your writing style. Okay, this is actually my important aim of the day. See, what I'm trying to give you is, or what I'm trying to emphasize here is, don't start reading because I'm saying that reading is very important for a student as well as a professional. No. See, you take time out from your personal schedule and fix a daily timetable for reading skill. Okay. And remember, reading caters to every area, mechanical, be it mechanical engineering or civil or aeronautical, robotics, nanotech, environmental engineering, biotech, even people who are focusing on sociology, psychology, and other things as well. Literature, romance. You have so many genres, hundreds of genres are there. And my primary aim is to suggest certain books by certain authors so that, and again, I have a reason behind this particular set of authors because in any bookshop anywhere in Tamil Nadu, in India, be it India or even Tamil Nadu or Coimbatore, our own district, you walk into any bookshop, you'll find all these authors and their titles there. Okay, I can guarantee because they are the bestsellers in the world. These authors, and their writings, they are termed as bestsellers. They have sold millions of copies and available in every bookshop in every nook and corner of the world. Okay, the first author I would like to focus on here is Arthur Haley. He was a Canadian pilot. He worked in the Second World War as a pilot. He wrote a book called Flight into Danger. And this was a book about, a flight, a commercial flight, which is in air. And when food is served, they are serving mushrooms as dinner. While it's a transatlantic flight, lengthy flight, more than 5-6 hours. And a poisonous kind of mushroom is served to everybody, including the pilots. So everybody falls sick. And there is one man left in the flight, the plane, who can save them. But that man is actually a Second World War pilot. He's a veteran. He's a retired pilot who worked in the US Air Force in the Second World War. And now he has to bring down this commercial jet liner. Interestingly, this is actually the favorite book by actress Khushbu. She has told in an interview that of all the books I have read, this Flight into Danger is a book that actually thrilled me so much that I have got a hard copy of it signed by Arthur Haley himself. He's no more Arthur Haley. It's with her. That's how the book appeals to people. Okay. Then you have Wheels. This is a book for mechanical engineers. This talks about the Detroit car industry. It's beautifully written. He gives you about how to all aspects: engineering, production, marketing, business. Everything is told about the car industry in this book, Wheels. Overload talks about the generation of power and the distribution of power, power in the sense electricity, the process, how it happens in America. Airport is a book for anybody who wants to join this particular field. It tells you in very intricate details the entire working of an airport, starting from the gate security, perimeter security as we call it, till the ATC, air traffic control. Everything is explained so clearly. The evening news talks about the media, how this media works, the various aspects of journalism, and everything is elaborated in this particular book. Okay. Then comes Michael Crichton, one of my personal favorites. Way back, he wrote The Andromeda Strain. Talks about the spreading of a virus, which is quite relevant to today's field. Like this was in the 1980s. This book was written in the 1980s, talking about a particular strain of virus which spreads, which is actually developed in a virology lab, and somehow it is released in the air, and how it affects the general population as a whole is very detailedly explained by him. Then comes Airframe. It's a book for people, as I said, aeronautical, mechanical, robotics. All these people should read this book, Airframe. Wonderful book which talks about so many things about how a plane is built, the mechanics, the engineering, everything is talked about here. Prey is an amalgamation of 3 different fields of science named AI, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, as well as robotics. All these 3 things come here in this book, Prey. He talks about it. Remember, Michael Crichton was a doctor, a physician by profession, but a writer by choice. And all his books are amazing. State of Fear. State of Fear is a book that will appeal to environmental engineers. This talks about how global warming is a very interesting concept. It's actually a book which doesn't advocate the concept of global warming. It says like it's not a very properly conceived concept. Then you have Sphere. Sphere talks about, it's a bit of psychological thing. It talks about an object found in the sea, which appeals to your inner psyche. Very interesting. Next and Micro are both books, are both dealing with biotechnology, how and even gene therapy. These two things are discussed here. Jurassic Park, of course, you all must have heard about it. Jurassic Park was one of his earlier successful books, which talks about reviving the dinosaurs. Moving on, for today's kids, Jeffrey Deaver would be a very good choice, especially his two books, The Blue Nowhere and The Broken Window. Those people who are interested in data mining, artificial intelligence, all these data structures, everything, you can read these two books, The Broken Window and The Blue Nowhere. He talks about the huge inroads that the digital technology has taken in this particular area. And remember, these were the books written around like 2000 and 2001. Even then, this man could foresee that data mining is the future of the world. And these two other books, Bone Collector and Skin Collector, talks about forensics. How forensics is very important. In fact, there was even a recent movie. I saw it on Prime Videos. I think it was having like this actor called Tovino Thomas, where they talk about the forensic aspect of murder investigation. All those things are explained very clearly in The Bone Collector and The Skin Collector. And, this is a list I can suggest for people, and my area of expertise is this. If you say like you are from this particular area, and if you can tell me that, okay, this is my area of interest apart from my academics, I can suggest you relevant books which will definitely pull you in, make you sit down and read. Okay, that's where I come into play. That's actually the idea behind this webinar also. First of all, to make you people get an interest in reading, and then giving you a reading list so that you can improve your writing skills. Now, for people who are aspiring to begin this habit of, I would say, habit or skill of reading, you can start off with Sidney Sheldon, an author like Sidney Sheldon, a very good storyteller. You cannot put down his books. The plots are easily written. You just keep going through it. Maybe it will take, say, 5-6 hours to finish one novel. Jeffrey Archer, another wonderful storyteller. Michael Connelly. Michael Connelly is actually the president of the Mystery Writers Association of America, one of the most successful thriller writers living. Okay, Lee Child. Lee Child is another author whose books you cannot put down. In fact, I'm right now reading my book, 945th book, which is written by Lee Child. Okay, James Patterson. Good, very good storyteller. Jonathan Kellerman specializes in psychological mysteries, and a lot of concepts about psychology will be discussed in his a lot of things like child psychology, occult, so many things he discusses. Tess Gerritsen, she is both mystery as well as a lot of medical mysteries are written by her, medical thrillers as we call it. David Morrell. I don't know how many of you have heard of this name or familiar with this name, but this is the guy who wrote a book way back in the 1980s called First Blood, which impressed the actor Sylvester Stallone so much that he made a successful series of movies out of it till last year. In fact, the last part of Rambo was released last year. So that actually, it was the movies were based on a book, First Blood, by David Morrell. He wrote only one book, but remember there are 6 movies from that particular franchise. Then Nelson Demon, another wonderful storyteller. There is a movie which was made out of his novel's name, The General's Daughter. It's a highly suspenseful movie, okay? And the book is awesome. You cannot put down the book because the suspense is so very intense. And Robert Ludlum. I hope many people must have heard of him. Robert Ludlum is actually the man behind a character called Jason Bourne. And there are so far I think 5 movies made out of this Jason Bourne series, and there is even a TV series called Crichton. Okay, Robert Ludlum was a vegetable vendor. He was selling vegetables in the market, and then by chance he became a writer, and his writing was awesome. He wrote spy thrillers, as we call them, and it's very, very famous. He's no more. Same with Val McDermott, a British author. She's also very good in writing psychological mysteries. John Grisham, as you all know, is a well-known name in the legal thriller He has like dissected American law so much that some people even consult with him, it seems, from the legal field about the intricacies of the American law. Okay. Then Harlan Coben is the latest sensation. He is very famous in writing fast-moving thrillers. Very, very famous. Okay. And many of his novels have been converted into TV series. There are two right now on Netflix. You can check it out. Then she is an author who is well known for medical as well as forensic mysteries. She's too good. Okay. And there are many more. And remember, this list is here because you'll find all these authors in any of the bookshops you go in. Okay, any bookshop you walk in, you ask for this author, they'll say, okay, this particular author's books are there. And they've written so many books, okay, and when you're reading them, you have to read them in the series order, like starting with the first thing, then connecting with the second one, stuff like that. Okay, moving on. Okay. What I got from these books, okay, certain things like this. When we write certain expressions, we say years back. It's actually years ago, according to the grammar rules of English. Okay, these things you'll find in books. These are the examples I've taken from books. And a very common mistake here is discussing about. It's only discussing. You don't discuss about something. It is wrong usage. The reason being that it's called as tautological error. You cannot say discuss about something. You say we discussed something or this particular topic. Okay. The discussion was about, you can say, but discuss about is wrong. Excuse me. Same with return back. People say, no, you should return back this item to the library or this book to the library. It's not return back. It's return, just return. Okay. Don't say return back. These are the things you will get from the books, you know. You understand, oh, this is how it is done, it is said, it is even written. Okay. Same with very interesting. I'll go to it when I come to that part with prepositions. Take a look at other examples. These are common mistakes that we make. Dressing sense. We say dressing sense of a person, but actually the correct grammatical form is dress sense. There is another word to it that you will know when you read a lot. When you master reading, you will be knowing about that word also. It's called as sartorial splendor. Sartorial splendor is the way you have dressed up yourself. Okay? The way you are clothes, your apparel presents you before others in the society. And take a look at it. When writing an exam, how do you say it or write it? It's giving an exam is not right. It's actually take an exam. You always take an exam. You don't give an exam. All right. So these are the things you'll be getting from books. Moving on. See, take a look at it. Many people tend to say that, you know, when I was small, you write it actually. When I was small, it's not grammatically right, but when you write, when I was a small kid, when you use adjective, small as an adjective before the noun kid, that's okay. But when you write, when I was small, this happened to me, that's wrong. But the right way is when I was young. Okay. Then here, take a look at it. How do you use need to? You need not to. It's not the right expression. You're writing it, you should say you need not, you do not need to. Okay, this is how grammar dictates. The grammar rule advocates that you do it this way. All right. Not to again. More on this not to. How do you write it? She decided not to pursue another career and not this way. She decided to don't pursue another career. These are all, you know, some mistakes that young learners they do. So these are things you can pick from books, and you can use this language very effectively. Try not to use your cell phone in class. An instruction given by a teacher, it should not be given in this way. Try to don't use your cell phone in class. No, but grammatically right is this. Try harder not to forget next time. Try harder to don't forget next time. See the difference here. Okay. What happens here is people start noticing the right usage. And of course, as I said, language gives you this very important status. They'll start thinking you as an intellectual, because as I've told you, we are a colonial society. We are still, you know, living with this colonial hangover, and this actually, the mastery proficiency makes us important people. You know, we must have seen people are like just like mockingly saying or calling out somebody as, oh, that fellow thinks he's a Shakespeare. You know why? Because that person's English is flawless, even when he's writing as well as he's speaking. That's the reason. Moving on, we'll take a look at these things here. What happens more when we read? When we read, we get ideas that can help us to start writing. We get a lot of ideas, which helps us to start writing. For example, research work, your own PhD research work, what happens? The first thing your guide tells you is go and read as many as possible, like latest research papers published over the last 5 years. Prepare a list of it. See, the second chapter of any doctoral thesis is nothing but bibliography, the literature of previous research work that happened in the area, for which we'll have to read on a higher level. Okay, by reading we can document better what we are writing about. That helps you to document things in a very better way, in a very efficient way. When we read, excuse me, we learn new vocabulary that is meaningful. The vocabulary gets stronger, personal vocabulary. It and you become more experienced in it. Okay, moving on and see. These are the things I picked up when I was reading a lot. Simple things, she's married with the lecturer is wrong. It's a huge list. I have lists and lists coming up for you. You can read those lists yourself. Okay, take a look at this list. You read it and get a very clear picture. The house is inner spacious for me is not right. The house is spacious enough for me. Every student likes the teacher. Every student likes the teacher. I have visited London last weekend. He was boring in the class. He was bored in the class. Actually, this sentence, he was boring in the class, has two different interpretations. One is you are referring to a person who is sitting bored in the class, and then you are referring to the teacher's lecture, which was boring in the class. This he was boring in the class is a bit ambiguous. Okay, it may give you two different meanings. One is whenever the teacher teaches, he's always boring. All right. But the intention, of course, varies. Whatever context you want to put in, the context becomes important. You're talking about the student who's in the class, or you're talking about the staff who's handling the class becomes important. The woman which works here is from France. George told the story in details. See, take a look at it. I like very much pizza. It's like a pizza very much. She's married to a dentist. What does it look like? It's not how does it look like. How do you call you? What do call you? Okay. I'm much happy to see you. You felt so lonely. You felt very lonely. Simple things, but looks your writing very, your writing looks very effective when you start using all these things. Moving on with prepositions. Okay. With prepositions, the best example I would give you, you can read through it when I'm giving you another example. Whenever somebody asks for an address, we ask for a landmark. For example, I'm working in an institution named CIT. When somebody, I order a lot of things over the net, and these deliveries, when they come in, the delivery person calls me and asks, "Sir, you are in this particular institution which is opposite to Jenny's Club." So I tell them this way, but when I write, when I give the address, all these websites ask for address, right? There, when I write, I don't say opposite to, because as per rules of preposition, you should not add to along with opposite. It's always opposite this. For example, Jenny Club is opposite CIT, and vice versa. CIT is opposite Jenny Club. It's not Jenny Club is opposite to CIT, and CIT is opposite to Jenny Club. When you are writing it down, especially when you are recording your address in any website or even anywhere else, don't write opposite to. Okay, when you are referring to landmarks, that is not the right way of doing it. Okay, these are very important things. Attend to your duties. When you are writing down any instruction to the faculty members, you can be very careful. Attend at your duties is not wrong. Attend to your duties is right. Take a look at this. I deeply regret for my mistakes. I deeply regret my mistakes. Many students write apology letters. I deeply regret for my mistakes is wrong. You regret your mistakes. Regret doesn't have an object at all. Okay, you need not use that. He was afraid from cats. He was afraid of cats. Adam is so different than his brother, but it is from his brother to his brother. These are important things when you read, you'll pick up. Okay, moving on. When you use nouns, how do you use them? It's not incorrect way of saying is my English is very weak. That's not the right way of saying it. Actually, it shows, okay, you're weak in English, of course. But when you're learning it, you'll have to put it this way. I'm very weak in English. Okay? Weak cannot be used as a noun when it comes to refer to your skills and abilities in with reference to such things, a particular arena or domain. I'm very weak in English. The boarding is full. The house is full. In fact, we should not say boarding and lodging. In correct or appropriate grammar usage, it is board and lodging. Okay. This again presents ambiguity. The weather of Chennai does not suit me. You can say this, and it is acceptable when you are there, say traveling to Chennai on a very short trip. Like you're going there on a weekend, you're coming back, or you're going there for a training program for 5-6 days and you're coming back. In that case, the weather of Chennai does not suit me, is right. Okay, but just imagine you've taken a transfer, you received a transfer from your service, you're going to Chennai and you're going to settle down there for a while and work there for a while. In that case, the climate of Chennai does not suit me, is the right way of saying it. But for a short trip, don't say climate of Chennai. For a long stay, you can say climate of Chennai. Okay, and as you can see, all these things, are taken from these websites. These websites will tell you about all these things. And when you log in again, you'll have to read through these things. It's not just scrolling through it. Scrolling is nothing but reading and in a very sophisticated form for these digital era people. All right. Moving on. What happens with pronouns? Common mistakes in the use of pronouns. Okay. After each of we, the word, the pronoun we, use a plural noun or pronoun and a singular verb. Incorrect. Each of these three roads lead to the railway station. The correct usage is each of these three roads leads to the railway station. Now, these are very, very subtle and very, what do you call as delicate things that happen with the usage. When you write down, you'll not focus on this. But, your exposure to reading helps you to write better. When you read, you'll come across these constructions. Then you'll remember, see, the other day I read like that, which means that is, and remember something, whenever something is printed, it takes a different level of authenticity. It's like very genuine. Okay. And I wanted to add this point also. Many times people refer to a lot of websites, online resources, as we call it, which is not very good practice. The reason being that anybody can go and post anything online. But when it comes to a book, there is a very clearly laid out process. Okay. There's a team, editorial team, which goes through it. There is a people, linguists are behind checking all the sentence structures. Then they, have copyright issues. A lot of things are there. But online, it's not so. Anybody, for example, even Wikipedia, you can go and do anything you want. Like, take for example, you don't like some personality who is there, explained there. You can go and mess it up. You can write your own edition. You can add certain details and come. So that there is this problem with genuineness. Okay, authenticity is a problem for online resources. That's why the insistence on reading these things. Okay, it works on a cognitive level. It is something very different. Reading. Okay, each of these boys play cricket well. Each of these boys plays cricket well. See, take a look at it. The correct way of putting it. Both didn't want to go is incorrect. Neither went is only right. Many times we have this problem with both, among, between, all these words. You can learn these things in a better way when you read books. All right, moving on. Modal words to express certainty. Okay, how do you do it? Very certain. You can use must. When you're very certain about certain things. Examples are given here. Mike must have eaten my cake. He's always eating his flatmate's food. See, the way how it is written, flatmates, plural. This is the plural form of it, not the possessive case, but the plural form. Okay. Less certain, you can use these words may, might, could. The same context used in a different way. Might have eaten my cake. Impossible, use can't. You can use this thing. Mike can't have eaten my cake. Not possible, he did not do it. And mistakes in the past, when you're blaming your own self. I shouldn't have left my cake in the fridge. And this word can reminds me of something. I've seen so many people, be it a professional or a student, they use this expression called "I can't able to do it." That's actually wrong. Okay, you should say "I can't do it" because "can't" or "can" is a word that refers to your ability. You need not say I can able to do it. Okay, you just say "I can do it." That is all. Okay, moving on. Okay. Now the focus is on this part called vocabulary. Vocabulary is, as I said, a list of words. Okay, a list of words in the language. That's the general meaning of vocabulary. What you call as generic definition. A number of words in any language. In English, it is believed that there are over 10,50,000 words, and it's not going to be possible for even a native speaker of English to master all those 10,50,000 words. And that is where this thing comes into play. A stronger personal vocabulary. Take a look at the detail I've given, presented here in the slide. The word set. This has the maximum number of meanings in English. Okay, it has got 464 different definitions because it is used in many places, including mathematics, including so many scientific fields. Okay, which is more than any other word. That's the word with largest number of meanings, but remember, it's only a three-lettered word. It's not a huge word, just a three-lettered word with 464 definitions in the dictionary. All right. Run is in second place with 396 definitions. Run, has evolved. Even computer is running, we say. Okay. And go takes third with 368 different meanings, which means one word has 368 meanings. Imagine 10,50,000 words and the numerous, I would say, possible meanings of all those words. Okay. But the good news is there is no need to master all the 10 lakh words. See, a personal vocabulary as say strong as 5,000 words is enough, because knowing 5,000 words, you will know 50,000 meanings. All right, take a look at it. Different usages will enable you, will empower you, as we put it. Language is nothing but empowerment. Okay, mastering a language is just empowerment. Right, moving on. This is a very interesting wheel of vocabulary wheel, as we call it. These basic feelings are given: anger, disgust, sad, happy, surprise, fear. And the varying degrees of these, what you call as primal feelings, are given there. So many words possible, depending on the degree of the feeling that you have. All right. I even have a picture of it. I'll share it with people who are contacting me after the presentation. I have a other version of this also. You can use this to build a strong vocabulary. And when you build a strong vocabulary, your usage becomes very, very stylish. It's something very important you will have to focus on. This particular part, the next 10 or so minutes, I'll be focusing mostly on vocabulary, which you can build by reading books. See, feeling sick. That is actually an interesting part. You can say feeling sick, you cannot say feeling ill, because you are ill only. It's not a feeling. Illness is not a feeling when you express it that way. You can say, I have a cold, I have a toothache, I have the flu. Okay. Then when it comes to feelings, I feel nauseous, like vomiting. I feel feverish, I feel dizzy. In fact, you can use a much better word than this called indisposed. There is a word called indisposed. INDISPOSED. This sums up everything. When one of your colleagues is not there in the campus, or one of your friends has not managed to come to work or to class, and he or she is feeling sick, you can just summarize their condition like this: the person is indisposed. And the one who is listening, if they are not very proficient in the language, they'll ask you more. What does this indisposed mean? Indisposed is nothing but, you are down with sickness, some sort of sickness. That's it. It's a very, very stylish way of putting it. I'm indisposed. You can even write letters. Leave letters can be written like that, indisposed. Due to, maybe if you want to mention it very clearly, what sort of illness you're suffering from, you can write. Now the word friend, has so many other synonyms. Again, the next part of building a vocabulary. See, you can use buddy, you can use chum, you can use comrade, you can use pal, you can use confidant. You can use mate, you can use bestie. Okay, and the usage is also given there for you. Take a look at it, how it is used. He's a buddy of mine from college. They just met. Where, this again focuses on the degree. How close you are. The intimacy is mentioned there. It's given prominence there. Okay, bestie. Now it says like used more by women, girls than by men and boys, but still boys also use. I've seen so many people talking about their boy bestie, stuff like that on social media. Mate, Australians and Americans, I mean Britishers, they use the word mate in place of friend. Okay, pal is American. Americans, they prefer the word pal. They don't pronounce it as pal; they pronounce it as pal. Okay, that's how. Again, that's a different area which is not related to reading, pronunciation, and spelling. Okay, and can you see the usage also? Moving on. Look at the simple word happy and see the varying degrees of happiness. Happy can be put in so many ways. Okay. When you're writing a report to the management, they're asking a report about a conference that was held. These words, will come in very handy. All these words can be interchanged depending on the context, and it will not. Your report will look very fresh. It will not look repetitive. You will not be repeating happy, 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 glad, glad, glad. That won't be there. All these different words make it look very stylish. People notice it. Then they'll again ask you to do such things. They'll be impressed by your vocabulary. Okay. This is something I came across here where this is more related to colloquial conversations, not just writing, but mostly in speaking. Supposedly, for all intents and purposes, regardless, I couldn't care less, espresso specifically, etc. I saw it, it's not I seen it, but most important, I need to lie down. These are the ways you use these expressions, but many times, folks, they make mistakes out of it. Okay, and see, this is like these are the lists I'll be sharing with your organizers. You can get from them. The point being that how interestingly you can use the language. When you're exposed to a lot of such words when you're reading, this is what happens. Instead of saw, one simple word saw, you can use glimpsed, noticed, observed, sighted, spotted, stared at, glanced at, eyed, gazed, spied, examined, watched. Of course, the context becomes very important here. And a simple thing like laughed, see, laughed, snickered, guffawed, giggled, cackled, roared, howled, chuckled, tittered, chortled, hee-hawed, crowed, billowed. See, so 12 ways of putting it. Instead of laugh, you can use this and say simple words said. These are the words you find in reports a lot. When you're writing reports, when you're writing many other professional writing, you use these words. Said can be replaced with so many such words. And remember, this actually makes your writing look very, very efficient. Always keep that in mind. Okay. I'll move on because this is a huge list. I have more lists to come for you. This is a warning here. Please don't use a big word when a singularly unique, occasional, and diminutive linguistic expression will satisfactorily accomplish the contemporary necessity. Many times what happens is we get carried by the proficiency that we have in the language and we start using difficult words. This actually means don't use a small word to keep it when you want to say things, express things. But look at the way it is. This is what we call as linguists or people with language background. We call it as Sashi Tharoor style. This is like pompous, high-sounding words are there to say something very simple. What the message here is: don't use big words to convey your meaning. Use simple words to convey your meaning. Okay, don't fall prey to this because you know things you cannot bombast your vocabulary with others. That may put off people. Be careful about it. Okay, they'll not have a very favorite opinion about it. Yeah. See, one more set of words. It keeps on going and coming. Say nice, pretty. All these words you'll find in your professional writing. So these are the ways you can do it. Like, admire, approve, adore, treasure. I'll just focus on one or two examples because we don't have so much of time left. I'll have to move on. And then, for your better understanding of this reading-writing connection, I'll play a video. Please listen to it and understand this man very clearly, because this is all scientific. Okay, this was based on a study, I think, at Arizona University. So the reading-writing connection is more securely as well as legitimately established. Take a look at it.
In terms of being able to read, comprehend text, and in terms of being able to write text. Another way of thinking about this is that when you write, if you're doing it the right way, you have to think about your reader. So there's this connection between writing and making sure that your reader comprehends. And when you read, it's helpful to think about the author behind the text as well. So there's these very close connections between them. And in fact, teaching one helps the other. However, neither by themselves are sufficient. Just teaching reading doesn't make for a great writer, and just teaching writing doesn't make for a great reader. We're going to take advantage of how they overlap, but we need dedicated time and instruction for both.
So that's what the professor from University of Arizona had to say. There is a definite connection. It has been proved scientifically. Okay, but there is no doubt about this writing and reading connection. Then moving on, I've come to the conclusion of my presentation. Right now, what I'm going to say is a lot of emphasis on reading. See, the person you will be in the next 5 years is based on the books you read and the people you surround yourself with today. The books you read determine what type of a person you will be, not just in the next 5 years, your entire lifetime. That's the power of books or power of reading. Okay. When you aspire to be professionals, and I've told you already, your job involves a lot of reading, be prepared for it. Don't say that, see, I've never learned reading at school. I told you, if you are saying that reading is boring, then you are doing it wrong. I'll tell you the basic principle behind reading as a skill. See, I've given you a big reading list here, but that doesn't mean you should go and search for those writers. The point being that sit down and think and ruminate, contemplate about what is your area of interest apart from, say, your academic leanings. Think about what interests you. Then list down that. Search for books from that particular genre. For example, you like historical mysteries or historical fiction. There are writers who write only about that. You have a lot of people. Matthew, I forgot his full name. There is the Steve Berry, an excellent writer on historical mysteries. Then you like only adventures like, traveling through a desert, finding out pyramids, all that stuff. You have Wilbur Smith. You can read his books. Get exposed to a style. What will happen is you are reading what is your interest, right? What has interested you. So when you are reading such books, you'll never feel bored. You will be actively engaged in this act, thereby cultivating your skill. Reading is actually a skill nowadays. It's now mostly becoming a dead art form. So we need to revive it. That's how it is done. All right, do it in the right way. Read only what interests you. First, fix your area of interest. What is the genre you are interested in? Then search for authors, or you can even contact me. I can suggest things to you. I've told you I've written close to 1,000 books right now. So I can tell you about the right author at your level. Maybe you are starting it for the first time. When you are starting it for the first time, you cannot read Wilbur Smith. You'll have to start with some other writer, then move on to or graduate on to Wilbur Smith. Moving on. See, I told you in the beginning of my presentation, there is a slide here where I'll be talking about Shakespeare's contribution to this language. So many expressions that this man has given. And this was done when English was only in its infantile stage. It had not grown, had not seen a big growth. It was still growing. In fact, in those days, only people started a lot of expeditions. They started exploring other world countries. Now we have a lot of Hindi words, Tamil words in English also. But then these were the days when English itself did not have enough words. And look at the Shakespeare's intellectuality of Shakespeare. He searched for an expression. He did not get one. He invented his own. And today's digital age is doing only that. Okay, especially the pandemic times, a lot of new words have come up. Okay, I do have a list of words come up with the letter C. New words that are being used by people in these pandemic times. So many things: catch a cold, clothes make the man. It was Greek and Latin to me. Seen better days, no rhyme or reason. Oh, this man was too good. Okay, moving on. Keep reading. It's one of the most marvelous adventures that anyone can have. It's a kind of adventure. You go on to a different world. You learn a lot of things. Then you come back. Sometimes the experience, stays on with you forever. Now, this is a very interesting point. A little reading is all the therapy that a person needs sometimes. People lean on different things like music. Some people do yoga, meditation. Reading is also therapy. This is a very, very effective therapy. You focus all your intense feelings there just on the plot and follow the motive of the plot. You have a therapeutic feeling. Your worries, everything will calm down. Because I have personal experience from this, and that's why I'm sharing it. I used to travel to a lot of places during my tenure in NCC for the camps. All those times I'll carry a lot of books with me. A lot of books will be with me. I'll be reading those books during my journeys, long journeys. I'll be traveling along with my cadets 2 days, 3 days in train. So I'll be having at least 6 or 7 books, to engage me during the travel. Now, today's generation needs this kind of input only. Teachers can tell their students like this. You are giving them a book to read, you can tell them this. Just think of it as you're reading a long text message, because that's the plight of this generation. They are used to SMS, short message service. They cannot have the inclination to sit and read long texts. So you can encourage them in this way. Tell them it's a long text message, read it, it will be very helpful to you. That would probably, I'm not saying possibly, but probably it may inspire them. Okay. And remember, life without books is an unsharpened pencil. It has no point. The way this particular sentence is put, is because of the exposure to reading. The style there, life has no point. Pencil is there. You can understand, the image there. Like a pencil, unsharpened pencil, life has no point without books. That's the image here. And remember, reading helps you to become a better speller. Reading helps you to understand different points of view. Very important for researchers. Reading helps you to adapt your writing to your audience. On a higher level, professional level of writing, project reports, a lot of things. Applying for even projects, these things come into play. Okay. Moving on. That's the end of my presentation. And as I was promised by the organizers, if there are any questions, I know this particular mode has only one big drawback, which is interaction. It cannot happen as such on the point of time. But if you have any questions, you can shoot them to me. I'll do my best to answer all your queries. And before concluding, I would like to thank Professor Ramasamy as well as the management of KPR and the people who are behind the scenes involved with the technical assistance and other things. I thank them all for this opportunity, and I hope a sort of glimmer was given to you, a hope was given to you about reading and how it affects your writing in this presentation. I would welcome any questions. And
Dr. Ruben, congratulations for your wonderful talk, Ruben.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
How to build a vocabulary reservoir in our mind, sir?
So vocabulary is built when we have an active interest in knowing new words. I was telling you an example. I'll even show you the mail, sir. I have a mail with me right now, wherein I'll show you this, sir. This particular. Yes, sir. This is the one, sir. The C letter words. I hope you can see it, sir.
Sir.
Starts with coronation. What happens is it's a new word that has been this is not a word in the dictionary, sir. This has come up in popular usage. And this comes when you are reading a lot. When you read newspapers, today's newspapers, popular newspapers like the Times of India, you will come across such words, sir. That is how a better vocabulary is built. A stronger vocabulary is built only through exposure to different styles of reading. And once your vocabulary is strong, you will know, okay, this word can replace this particular word, and I'll use this word in my writing. And thereby, your vocabulary keeps on growing. So, coronials, a new word is coming up, sir. And probably by next year, all these words will be in the dictionary. The generation born after December 2020 as a result of the enforced quarantining of their parents due to COVID-19 pandemic. Then corona shaming, conference, nostalgia, all these words are coming up, sir. These are the latest in language today. That means in the past 3 months, these words have come up. My point is keep reading, sir. Keep reading things that interest you. That will be very, very helpful to enhance your vocabulary.
Some foreign other journals, they need country English or native English, sir. What do you mean by that, sir? We need
Sir,
country
sorry.
English. While sending for papers for review or some other publication in...
Yes, sir. They call it native speakers language, sir. The thing is, when it comes down to scientific writing, they have a different particular structures. They prefer your sentences to be in passive voice. It should be styled in a way called impersonal or objective style of writing. It's like there are basically two types called subjective and objective. Subjective is where when you write things from your perspective, like poems, short stories, essays, articles, generally for the people to read. But when it comes to scientific writing, it is always objective. Your sentences should be centered in a way that the action gets prominence than the person who is acting on it. Like I took a beaker and heated it, should not be there in scientific writing. A beaker was taken, filled up with this particular amount of solution, and it was heated. That's what people in scientific community prefer, because you cannot take credit for that. Somebody else would have done it before you. So this particular experiment should be given in a way so that it is impersonal, not laced with your personal narrative. Only when you do that, your papers will get published. Otherwise, it won't, sir. They'll definitely send you feedback. They'll send you a remark. They'll send you a list of remarks. We are not clear about this. We want this part to be improved. Many such things happen, sir. Even Anna University has sent back a thesis. I mean, a lot of dissertations with remarks. They say this is not the way we want it. Your idea is good, but the presentation is not up to the mark, it seems. Recently, I even corrected our own colleague's dissertation for it. Now, on Monday, he has got his viva, sir. In our own institution, in NCIT. The remark was only this: it's a very good idea, but they were not happy with the presentation. So he came to me. I had to do a lot of stuff. Rewriting was done. When it was sent back, it was accepted. Make it impersonal, make it objective. That's the thing when it comes to scientific writing.
Some people are very good in writing the English, but when they are asked to address in the public, their ideas go blank. What is the reason, bro, sir?
Sir, reading is different, quite different from speaking, sir. Reading is a very personal activity. You take a book, you go and sit in the balcony or lock yourself in a room. There is nobody to look at you. But speaking is something completely different, sir. You will have to address an unfamiliar audience, sometimes even a familiar audience. There, a lot of confidence building measures have to be taken, sir. You need to go through a very rigorous practice path to master that. Only when you do it, the words will come out. Otherwise, even reading out from a printed version becomes difficult. So people start stammering there. They are overwhelmed by the presence of so many people sitting to listen to them. So that's the main reason, sir. Reading is a private activity, but speaking is a very public activity for which another set of skill set is needed for which another set of training is needed.
Dr. Ruben, please do accept our sincere congratulations and thank you for your excellent presentation, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was
Thanks for
interesting,
the
informative, impressive, striking remark, the clarity discussions. I am very sure that the participants have enjoyed and enriched their knowledge in the domain of better writing through reading. I have been seeing commendable and overwhelming feedback in the YouTube chat box. The feedback with the questions raised by the participants will be sent to you immediately. The participants were provided your mail ID, so please be kind enough to clarify and enlighten their queries. Once again, on behalf of the KPR Institute of Engineering Technology Management, Principal Dr. Mahila, Chief Executive Dr. M. Narajan, I thank the resource person Dr. E. Justin Ruben, Assistant Professor Senior Grade, Associate NCC Officer, Department of English, Coimbatore Institute of Technology, Coimbatore, for his nice and wonderful presentation. Also, I thank Mr. K. Rajkumar and Mr. Manigandan from the Civil Engineering Department for flawlessly arranging the live telecast